halfway to the MIDI audio devices. I went to Soundflower and put it down halfway.
Well, why did you do that?
I did that.
Why did you do that?
Didn't do that. It's the point.
You're saying you didn't.
The point is, why did it happen?
You're saying you didn't do it, but somebody did it.
Something.
And it's not me.
Made that happen, and it wasn't me. I think we put it to sleep, and it wakes up grumpy like me, and it just doesn't want to fucking do it. That is what I think.
Oh, man.
I wonder if you're going to leave this in to annoy the audience.
No.
Okay.
Well, about all I do to annoy the audience is leave you in. Oh, that's a good one.
Yep.
Yep.
Recycled material.
It's not recycled. That was fresh. That was new.
Okay. Okay, so they have what's left of the team of the people that tried to beat them. Okay, so if they couldn't do it with everyone else, they're all going out to go fight them again. So it's like I was thinking, well, what can they do now that they didn't do before? And then I saw Ant-Man doing something with a pencil and the end of an eraser, and then I thought, what are they gonna do? Send Ant-Man up Thanos' ass and then have him go big and then explode him from inside out? I think that could work. That would be a surprise too.
Well, not anymore. You just ruined it.
The end
I'm gonna
game.
cut. I'm gonna have to cut this out because it's a pre-spoiler. If that happens, you will have spoiled it for all the.
If that happens, something's wrong with Marvel because that was a terrible idea. Then Deadpool would show up.
The real problem is that it's an obvious idea because, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
If that happens,
it'd be too easy.
Yeah.
Also gross. Like, he wouldn't ever want anyone to know he did that.
What if he goes into his urethra and just it stays in there and then blows his dick up?
Wait, his ego's in his dick, so he blows his dick up and he's like, oh, well, who cares now?
No, his urethra, the hole where you piss.
Yeah.
And he blows that up and he's like, ah! And then he's got a hole in his crotch.
Okay. So he can't snap his fingers and put it back? I don't get it.
If someone blows your crotch up, you're not going to be snapping your fingers. You're going to be holding your junk together.
So then they're going to pull the glove off? Okay, your plan is flawed. They got to blow him up like
well,
instantly.
you got him crawling up Thanos' ass.
Right.
Why is your idea good but mine's bad?
Because when he goes big, he explodes, and then, he doesn't have time to react. But if his dick explodes and he's like, oh shit, and you should have gone for the head.
If your dick exploded.
What if he says you should have gone for the head?
If your dick exploded, you wouldn't just be going, burn.
I'm just saying, after the dick blows up, then what? Because you didn't plan out further than that.
Well, then he crawls back in there. Yeah, he gets in the ear and then blows up the side of his head. Under a toenail.
So they're going to torture him to give up the glove. That's what you're...
Yeah, they need
that's
to.
Where you're going.
They need to.
Okay.
He deserves it.
Yeah. Okay. This has gone where no man has
Oh,
gone
you mean
before.
it's gone on too long? Like the Avengers series? Hello, everybody. Welcome to Movieisms. We're here to talk about many a thing.
A sad thing or a boring thing, and then...
God.
We don't know. We're just here.
What? All right, so we're going to cut to the chase. The movie we were going to review this week is called Missing Link. It had Hugh Jackman in it. Zoe Saldana is the female character. And Zach Galifianakis. That sounds like good mojo, right?
Well, you would think, I guess.
We're just blown away by how just boring it was. I mean, that's the word we both used to describe it.
Yeah, I feel like there was really no character growth everyone were just they were the way they were. I mean, there was one character where at the end he's like, okay, I won't be like this anymore. But everyone was the same through the movie. I mean, well, the point is the missing link character, who Zach Galifianakis plays, he's already who he is, who he's going to be at the end. He is that when you first meet him, and there's no struggle because everything that happens is so easy. Like the Hugh Jackman character goes to find him, and within the first couple minutes of landing in the place where I found you, he's like, oh yeah, let's go. And then, off on the thing. And then they immediately, when they get there, they find it.
Yeah, and they're friends.
Yeah.
Right away friends. And then he's like, well, I need to find my distant cousins.
Yeah.
And
then
the Himalayas. So
instantly,
they
go
walk
to the
in the
Himalayas,
snow,
and there they are. We found
them.
them.
There they are. It is not good. It's not bad. It's boring as hell.
Yeah.
It is boring. And I love Zach Galifianakis. I think he's hilarious. But somebody or nobody making this movie had any sort of passion for it. It's like, well, we need to put a movie out this year. What are we going to do? Well, we got Zach Galifianakis over here. You put him in something.
Yeah, and it was odd because usually we find his odd sense of humor amusing. I think it works in the situational movies he's in. But in this movie, it was just really obvious that he was like doing opposite humor where he's like, oh yeah, that sounds like really good. Yeah, you're right. We should do that. What are we talking about?
Yeah.
It was that was the same joke that Zach kept doing through the whole movie. It's like, oh, that's amazing. What is that? I have no idea what that word means. Over and over. Yeah. It's like, is that all that Zach does? And we just didn't notice it till just now because there's he's in a vacuum. Can I
ask you a question?
Yeah.
Why are you calling him Zach like you know him?
Galifianakis. Well, because Galifianakis is hard to say. Galifianakis. You can't even say it 2 times fast.
Galifianakis.
Oh, fuck you.
Say Zach Galifianakis 3 times.
Zach
Galifianakis.
Ah! You lose.
Zach Galifianakis.
Galifianakis.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just it was a passionless thing. When you go see some of any movie really, but when you see a lot of the kids movies, at least there's some pep to it. You can tell people were trying, like they were swinging for it.
Yeah.
This movie didn't swing for it. It's like people were. This is the little side project I'm working on my lunch break.
Yeah. And one of the problems was I guess Missing Link was the hero character or whatever. But it's like he already knew how to read and write and everything. There's like no room to grow. You would think. I feel like would have been much more interesting if we saw that he was smart, but he didn't know all that stuff. So they bonded over him trying to teach but none of that. It was just, I'm ready to go.
Or if he's like Shrek, like an ogre or something, and he's like crude and he wants to,
Yeah, it's like it's supposed to be fish out of water, but Missing Link was like ready to go. What is it? I don't even know. Was he Bigfoot, I guess?
He's a Sasquatch. Missing Link is considered a Sasquatch. No, but the thing is,
he didn't have to learn anything. He was just, he read books and all that.
It could have been hilarious because there's a section in the movie when they dress him up like a human.
Yeah.
To get him and take him into civilization, and you think, oh, this could be funny, where it's like taking the missing link, the less sophisticated character out into the real world, and within 30 seconds the guy drops trow and starts acting like the missing link again, and then the scene is over. There's no tension or suspense or anything from anything that happens because it just happens and then they move on to the next thing. But it could have been very entertaining watching him trying to adapt to, like the whole thing could have been like, oh, I think we can civilize you and put you into the real world, and it could have been that kind of a fish out of water story where I'm trying to fit into the rest of us because he's the missing link. He's the one thing left. You know what I mean?
He's been on his own for so long. There should have been more awkward
Yeah, or
moments.
disgusting or gross or,
Yeah.
Just
But
shitting over there by the, I'm just going to.
Yeah, let me go take a shit in the corner. Oh,
Yeah.
no, you don't do that.
We don't do that here, yeah.
But then one of the early scenes, he goes into a bar, and this is a complaint as far as the storytelling. There's a little bit of tension at first because we're like, is everyone going to know he's in clothes, but is everyone going to notice that, how hairy and big he is and all that? And there's people like a hunter, they come and they're like, oh, we're looking for this thing. And immediately they just get rid of the tension and say, oh, he's right here.
Yeah, that's the same scene I was just talking about.
But it just
there's no
right.
Yeah.
I was getting tense. I was starting to get into it, and then no, he's right here. What? You're not going to try and hide it? We're not going to. I think it's bad storytelling when you release the tension too soon and constantly. Just no tension. We're just ready to go.
Or if it was going to be a character study or a character piece, make it about character study. But everybody is so flat, one note.
Right.
They basically have one thing the whole time, and that's all they are.
Right. Only one character grows at all. Everyone else remains the same through the entire movie.
Yeah, and the growth leaves a lot to be desired.
Yeah.
It's a very small growth, kind of like a little mole of growth.
And it was obvious too. We knew. I mean, because at the very beginning they're like, "This is what he wants." And then you're like, well, okay, well, obviously he's going to get that, but then not want it by the time he gets it. We know that's going to happen.
So it's produced by Laika Studios, and Laika Studios made Kubo and the Two Strings.
Which is good.
They've made other great things before, which is why when I went to see this, I was thinking maybe it will at least be visually stunning,
and it wasn't
and it wasn't even that at all. It wasn't even fun to look at.
The making of that we saw after the credits started rolling, that was more interesting to me than anything in the movie.
Yeah. And I was sitting there listening, I was watching this movie with you, and I'm thinking the people next to us loved it. And I'm thinking, are we just expecting too much? I know we're expecting, like, our critical minds or whatever. Are we just expecting too much out of movies? Because the lady next to us, she cackled and chuckled and laughed, and every time she laughed, she snuggled up next to the guys like, I love this, It's like, she didn't say that, but she had that look in her eye where it's like, this is just so much fun watching this movie with you. It's amazing. And I'm thinking, I'm trying to stay awake over here.
I'm thinking beer goggles, but also like love goggles. And she probably, see, not everyone gets out to movies as often as you and I do. And so this stuff isn't as annoying and repetitive. So they're like, oh, this is brand new. I haven't.
Maybe. And she also was thoroughly entertained by, if she had to go home after the trailers, she would have been fine. Because she was laughing and living her best life watching these trailers. Yeah. That looks great. I want to see that. I kept cheering her, saying, I want to see that. And it's like the dog movie, the dog's journey thing that you were talking about.
What do you mean?
That movie where the dog, he comes back as the same dog 20 times.
You mean
she loved that trailer.
Right.
She loved it. And I'm like...
And I'm thinking, I can't watch 10 dogs die in one movie.
Yeah, you're like,
I can't even handle one.
The last thing I want to do is, you're like, what I want to do is get depressed right before I watch a movie.
Yeah. I teared up while that trailer was going on because of remembering my dog.
Yeah, but it's not because the movie or the trailer looks any good. It's because you have sentiment. And that's what people are doing when they're making dog movies. It's unfairly tapping into people's sentimentality. Yeah. It is not because they're telling a good story. There are some movies that are good stories about dogs that are good stories. I don't think A Dog's Journey is going to be one of them, though. Yeah.
I was remembering, though, there are a couple moments where I was, like, trying to figure out how they did that, where, like, they had the Sasquatch's fur blowing in the wind. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking, if this isn't 3D, they've got to switch out his body every couple of frames to make the things move.
They put every little fur has a thing, like a wire that they can adjust, and they just go in and adjust it. I've seen Kubo and or is it Kobo? Kubo?
Kubo.
Kubo and the two strings, they have stuff with the hair and stuff, and they have like wires inside, individual wires inside, and they just make the little adjustments. It takes that's what's so amazing about this. You'd think, or what you'd want is to spend 2 years on a movie like that, where like you might have worked on 3 shots in this entire movie, like as an animator, like a physical animator, maybe 5 or 10 shots or whatever. But you'd think you'd want it. After doing that meticulous work, it better be fucking good.
Well, you would hope that there's, something you get out of it, or you learned a lesson, or heartwarming or something. But this movie is not heartwarming. You don't learn a great thing. It's not. It's just they go on an adventure and have little to no struggle. I mean, every time they decide to do something, it's just easy and they can immediately do it. I mean, there's a point where they get caught, and they're like, oh, let's escape now. And then, okay, they can escape.
Yeah.
It was just not interesting.
Yeah. There's... we've already talked about it longer than I thought we would.
I know. Okay, all done.
No, we really have talked about it longer than I thought we would, because there really isn't anything to talk about. There's nothing about it that was... Even the shots. I was talking about the shots a minute ago. It is not visually stunning in any way.
Yeah.
It's not like a work of art like Isle of Dogs was.
Or was it Moana?
Moana, yeah.
I remember we watched Moana, and I was constantly amazed at how the hair looked.
Yeah, well, that's...
Not to mention the backgrounds.
Well, that's CGI, though.
I know, but I guess that's what we're talking about, is the art direction.
Yeah,
art direction was not...
when I saw Isle of Dogs last year, or whenever that was, it blew me away visually.
And it was fun.
Every shot was a work of art. And that's a stop-motion movie.
Yeah.
And you could just tell that meticulous time and care had been placed into every single detail. This movie didn't feel that way. Not at all. It's upsetting. It's like, I didn't really want to see it.
Yeah.
I didn't really want to see it, but, we have a show where we talk about movies weekly, and we needed to go see something.
It was between that and the Enemies movie, and at the time...
Best of Enemies, yeah.
Yeah, Best of Enemies. At the time, I was like, I'd rather see something more lighthearted, and it was a mistake.
It was a mistake. Yeah, you did pick this one.
In fairness... You were leaning towards it, so I just kind of said, let's go ahead and do it.
In fairness, I didn't care either way. I mean, right. I wasn't... It didn't matter to me. I just knew we kind of needed to see something.
But it does feel like every time I say, let's do this one over that one,
we could do a whole series of reviews based on the movies you picked that I knew were going to be bad, but you wanted to go to anyway.
No, Missing Link was going to be
No,
bad.
I'm not talking about Missing Link, but like Alien, what was it, Alien, or was it Predator a couple months back?
Oh,
that was one
man.
that you wanted to see, and I was, okay, we'll go see it, but I didn't think it was going to be good.
I mean, that made the Alien versus Predator movies look good. It was that bad.
So, I mean, what we're going to talk about now is what everybody else wants to talk about.
Yeah.
Is Avengers Endgame.
So I guess that's a thumbs down if we were Siskel and Ebert.
Oh, yeah, that's a Missing Link is a thumbs down. Missing Link is missing a link or two to make it interesting. We'll see you at the cinema.
Right. I had a few missing elements in the story.
There's more than one missing link. There's more than one missing link in Missing Link.
Speaking of missing links, Brad, why didn't you grow? Yeah.
Why didn't you grow? Now who's making the easy repetitive jokes?
My dad's what was it? A kid would come up to him and say, "Why are you so small?" or "Why are you so short?" And he said, "Because God doesn't make people like me any taller." Or any taller. Anymore? I don't fucking know.
That's like a non-answer.
God doesn't make people my size anymore. I don't fucking know.
Why are you so short? Because I'm short.
Any longer. No, longer is the
any
joke.
Longer, yeah.
Because longer can be tall, but also anymore.
Oh.
He doesn't make people like me any longer, is the punchline. I shat all over the punchline.
Fucked it up.
Boy.
I'm going to have to edit that out.
Right. Edit out with bad.
No, I'll leave it in because you said it, not me.
Right.
So, Avengers Endgame. Well, have you seen this thing? Have you? Maybe you don't know. Like, I don't.
You sound like you watch so much Seinfeld. You're like, have you seen this?
Well, maybe people.
Is it the game? Is it the end? When did it begin? Am I playing the game? I don't know.
Oh, Thanos. What is Thanos' thing? Like, they have a soft talker, a low talker, he's a the close talker guy. What is Thanos?
I'm not. What do you mean?
You know how they had the Seinfeld characters? They had the Seinfeld characters like, oh, he's a real close talker, and then the guy's
gets
getting
up
people.
In your face.
So what is Thanos' Seinfeldian idiosyncratic behavior?
What kind of talker is he? Or you mean is he like the suit Nazi? Or
yeah, there was like never mind. You're not getting it. I'm sure somebody else knows what I'm talking about.
I've seen every episode of Seinfeld, but it's been over 10 years.
Right, but what I'm saying is, if Thanos was a Seinfeld character, what would his quirk be? You know what I mean? Like Jerry has a what, and George is the liar. Kramer is the hipster doofus. Back before hipsters were even a thing.
He always has some kind of big plan, elaborate thing.
Thanos is what?
I don't know. He's a pedagogian. Is that a word? He's he's got the weight of the world on his shoulders. He feels like...
That's not funny.
I know.
You're ruining it. Now I'm going to have to edit this out.
He feels like...
Can you just stop talking?
Ego?
I don't...
Maybe he's got an overblown ego. He feels like he's got to fix everything.
He's a loud snapper.
Oh, you mean it's got to be a funny quirk?
Like a quirk, yeah. What is his Seinfeld quirk?
His chin looks like old balls that have like shriveled up. And purple. Would that be like blue ball chin?
He's a dick face.
Yeah, he's a ball chin.
Thanos is a real dick face. What does that mean? He's got a face that looks like a dick. He's a dick face.
Yeah, other than that, he's just melancholy. He's just very, like, this is what we're going to do. I don't know.
So...
He's very matter of fact, you know?
Yeah.
So he's not really funny. He's scary.
He's not funny. But if he's in a Seinfeld universe, how would they, I'm just saying, how would they tweak it?
You tell me.
I told you,
sir.
He's a dick face. He's a dick face.
Yeah. Right, the end of the episode.
So, but...
We just watched all the trailers.
We just rewatched all the trailers, by the way. You haven't missed much of anything if you don't watch the trailers, because I heard somewhere that they only show... In any of the trailers, they're only showing you stuff that happens in the first 30 minutes of the movie.
Right.
Because there's too many... Well, we might find out someone's actually alive.
I feel like somebody else is going to end up with the gauntlet, just based on what I know of the other stories that have been told. And at some point, other people do end up with the gauntlet. So I feel like someone else, like maybe Thanos' daughter, the robot girl, the purple, I think she's purple.
Yeah. Mantis. Is that her name? That's not her name?
No,
I thought her name
robot.
Was Mantis. I know. I thought her name was Mantis.
No, I don't even remember I don't remember anyone's names.
Well, that's not new.
Wow.
There's
Zoe Saldana's character.
Right, she's dead. Gamora. Yeah.
Right. She's the one daughter, and then the purple robot girl is the other. At some point, she ends up...
So why do you think that they made the first trailer that we watched, that black and white thing with the red color?
I said I think it's because you were complaining about, man, it's annoying because everybody's doing this black, white, and red thing.
Well, and not everybody's doing that, but it reminds me.
It.
It reminds me of the '90s. It's like when Photoshop became like friendly and people could take out colors. They just made it. Everybody loved do that thing where there's only one color in the picture. It's like a.
It's a chroma key thing. And yeah, when we went to school for TV production, we had to learn how to do that effect, actually. Where you make everything, you chroma key, make everything black and white except for the one color.
Right, and it just seems like it's like a video effect from the 90s. I don't know why.
I was saying, I think it's because of Schindler's List, that moment with the girl in the red dress and everything else is black and white. I think people are like, oh, we want to make this dramatic, so let's do black, white, and red, like Schindler's List. And then,
it just seems, it makes the trailer come off as so
pretentious,
heavy-handed, and overly dramatic.
Yeah.
Her name is Nebula, by the way.
Nebula.
Yeah, Thanos' daughter is Nebula.
His real, actual biological daughter, because
Right.
Gamora was adopted.
Right. Kidnapped, more like.
Right.
No, it took under
In fairness, her parents were murdered
by him. Yeah.
So he didn't have to fill out paperwork.
She was a refugee. So, first of all, we've talked about Avengers on the show before. So, I don't have anything new to say about Avengers. I do think that I'm glad it's finally here so we can stop wondering and everybody. I'm so tired. But by the way, before I'm going to preface everything I say with, I want to see this movie. I really liked Infinity War. If they knock this second part out of the park, it will be very impressive because there's so much pressure built up over it, and so much like, oh, what's going to happen next? What's going to happen next? But in my mind, in my movie going, my everyday, I see these movies all the time mind, I know I can feel myself going, well, of course everyone's alive still. Or they're not alive, but they didn't really lose anybody. Blah blah blah. They might lose a couple of people, but they've even leaked who we really lost. Like Gamora, they think they're saying we lost, and Loki. So they're telling us who's really dead. You know what I mean?
I guess I don't believe any of it. To me, it's just all theory until we see the movie.
But I thought the producers of the movie leaked that Gamora and Loki were actually dead because they died before the snap.
Technically, yeah. I would agree with that.
But that also doesn't make any sense. If what we think, we've talked about, the solution to their problem is time, going back in time.
If they went before any of them died.
Before any of that, yeah. Before he even got the thing or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
but also, if someone else gets the gauntlet, they could just say, well, everyone plus they could just... maybe they could do a snap to undo what he did and then say, oh, yeah, let me bring those back, too. You could bring anyone back.
Yeah, you can bring anyone back.
So,
it's the quantum.
The quantum.
Quantum.
I told you about that the other day with Orville, the show Orville.
Engage the quantum.
I couldn't believe... Yeah, he said, let's go to quantum. Like it was a place to go to or a speed to reach. Quantum speed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm getting on the same page with you. Like, there's too much fucking quantum. And I can't get it to work for me.
It's just such a buzzword that people don't...
It's like magic. It's a magic word because anything's possible in the quantum.
Yeah. So they basically that's their way of saying, well, we don't really have to work this out because of quantum.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like particularly Ant-Man and the Wasp, I need to go back and watch Ant-Man, which I actually did like the first one. I really liked the first one. I thought it was fun. I don't remember as much quantum in Ant-Man as in Ant-Man versus the Wasp. I do want to see how this is resolved. I just hope that when it is resolved, it isn't like a massive disappointment. You know what I mean?
Well, let me ask you this. What kind of ending... I think it'd be easy for you to figure out what you wouldn't want to see, what would make it bad for you. What?
Well, Well, we joked about it earlier. Like, I definitely don't want to see something. I mean, we joked about him going into his dick and blowing it up and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I mean, that would be funny. But that would be if they weren't taking their selves seriously, or if they did crawl. If they crawled into his ass and made himself large, that would be hilarious. But it would totally diminish like the thing. I don't know. I really hope it has something to do with time.
That's interesting because I'm the opposite. I feel like if they just go back in time and I want something more interesting than just rewind.
So my favorite Harry Potter movie.
It's not the one with time, is it?
Yeah, my favorite Harry Potter movie is what's the name of the movie?
The whole movie
Prisoner of Azkaban. Yeah. It is my favorite Harry Potter movie.
The whole movie isn't bad, but
it's also a great book. But the fact when they went back and they recomplicated things, like Back to the Future 2, when they go back and recomplicate things by going back in the first place.
What do you mean? Where they go and redo things that already happened? So what was the fucking point?
Right, but they redo it and they fix it. Like the suspense of it just folds over on itself and it creates more tension. However,
yeah, but you're getting to a thing that annoys me about any time anyone uses time, where they make what happened as if it happened. It's happening the first time. They haven't traveled through time yet. But the first time they're experiencing it, they're experiencing things that they had done when they traveled through time. And then later on they travel through time and say, oh, we got to redo those things that we already did to make everything work. It's stupid.
That's not how Prisoner of Azkaban unfolds.
Well, I said it had the one to do with time.
Right. Yeah,
She goes back in time.
You're talking about the same movie.
But they
that's
did
not...
those things before. Anyway, I hate
No.
that. If any times they did the thing and then later they travel back in time or whatever, and then they're doing those things.
No, because there's time. So we're living this thing right here. But if there was some future version of us that then went back in time to do those things, our current selves wouldn't know about that.
Right. But I'm saying first playthrough. You haven't done time travel.
We're with the main characters. Yeah. We're with them in the current timeline.
I'm saying, anyway, people.
So if we're sitting here watching movies, or we're sitting here talking about movieisms, and from behind one of us, something like a rock hits you in the back of the head. Right.
We haven't traveled back in time yet, so that's fucking impossible.
Right. But the quantum, and I'm not exaggerating here, in the quantum, all strains of time are coexisting at the same time.
But then we go into the future, and we discover a time machine, and we realize, wait, in order for everything to go the way we want it to, Brad, you got to go back in time and throw a rock at yourself. What the fuck do you mean? I never did that. Well, you got to do it now in order so that we can find the time machine. Right. What the fuck are you talking about? I'm going to hit you with a rock.
Right. But it's our future selves that go back in time, not our current selves.
But that's second time around.
Our current selves have never been through time yet. Our future selves go back in time.
Right.
That's why we don't know anything about it.
Right. So the point I'm making is it's the second time around. Anytime your future self did some shit, that's number 2 or number 3. But they do the movie as if this is the first time.
No, we're staying with the current timeline self. You're
trying to say time doesn't exist, Brad.
I'm not saying...
Time is a construct of the mind.
No, I'm well, I mean,
I'm just saying cause and effect.
In that case, it is.
If I haven't traveled back in time yet, I can't throw a rock at my head. So it has to be the second time around.
Future self goes back in time. A year from now, someone invents a time machine and say, "Hey, Brad, you want to go back in time?" And you say, "Yeah, sure." But past self doesn't know there's a time machine on its way.
You realize I'm talking about the original timeline before you travel back in time. Everything is untouched, is what I'm saying. Yeah. So rock can't hit me back in the head the first time through before we travel through time.
We're not watching the first time. We're watching.
That's my point.
We are watching. The point of view doesn't shift. Like, we're watching the second time. We're just watching it from the main character's point of view.
That's what's annoying to me.
Why is that annoying?
Because they always...
It's just good storytelling.
They tell it as if it's the first time, but then...
It's a trick.
They don't explain this is the second or third time.
It's a trick to build suspense.
It's just
a storytelling. You're annoying.
It's annoying that I, in my head, have to write and explain, oh, this is the second time through. No one will know that. They'll just say, oh, it's confusing because time travel is stupid.
Yeah, but it still checks out. It still makes sense.
No, it doesn't.
It does, because...
What doesn't make sense is when they say that time cannot be... is not malleable. So I have to go into the time machine and throw a rock at my head. Otherwise, everything gets fucked up.
Why does anyone need to throw a rock at their head anyway?
That was the thing you proposed. If that ever happens to us, I'm not fucking doing that again.
We've been talking about...
Because, by the way...
We've been talking about time travel for like 7 minutes.
I believe in the multiverse theory, where if you travel back in time, if you change anything back in time, you're creating a new timeline. There isn't one timeline where I can go back and then make my life better today. Yeah. No. Well, if you go back in time, you're creating new timelines.
Well, that just ties into the fact that you're never going to be happy.
Right.
Because you're like, I can't go back and create a happier version of myself. That's impossible.
Yeah. If you go back in time to kill baby Hitler to stop World War I, you're just creating a new timeline where World War I didn't happen.
Fine.
But the old timeline is still fucked up.
It's World War II, but okay. You said World War I.
Right, yes. Oh. I'm just... Anyway. Multiverse theory is what I subscribe to. There isn't just one timeline.
It's, is that strand theory or M theory? Is that what it is?
There's string theory. But there is I've heard of an M theory. But yes, quantum physics does lead to the idea of multiple dimensions.
Well, I mean, think about it.
Some theories say there's just 7, but then we're talking about like third dimension and second dimension, where there's flat and then there's 3 dimension. You know what I'm saying?
So what if we did? Okay, look, this universe, this timeline, this current universe we're in is screwed. We're totally screwed. It got fucked up. So we go back in time, get rid of Thanos, blow up his dick or whatever, and then we create a new universe where Thanos is dickless, so he doesn't have the confidence he once had. So now we have a new timeline where it's like the Biff Thanos. Yeah. You know what I'm talking about? Like from Back to the Future? What I mean is what do we do if we go back and create like the new multiverse version of ourselves? We're going off this way. We're thinking that universe just got totally fucked. It's like a rewrite. It's different now, maybe a little bit different, but we're over here now and not half the universe is dead.
So if you travel into the future after you change things, you will travel in the new timeline. So you'll get to enjoy the fruits of your labor.
Right.
But all the people you're originally trying to save, they're still screwed.
But the alternate versions of them are in this current universe. Right? Because we went back in time and solved the Thanos problem.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's sort of
why is that okay with you, but not the Harry Potter throwing a rock at himself?
Because they're trying to say there's only one timeline, and that was the first time.
There is only one timeline, and in that timeline, they only eat good butter.
What I'm really complaining about is people who didn't put any thought into how time works and just say, "Oh, time would be cool if they did," you know. It just frustrates me. It's like a magic button in writing where, I know something that could happen. They could go through time, and then they realize that shit that happened before, like the guy that saved him, was he himself traveled to the future. But how could he have saved himself if he died before he got to travel through time? I don't fucking know. I just know that he traveled back in time to save himself. How does that work? It's time. Time doesn't make sense. That's what pisses me off about people writing time
All right,
travel.
well, take a minute and tell us what you want, how you want Avengers to be. How you want it to resolve. What do you think it's going to be?
Quantum. No. I would be very happy if it wasn't just the easy jump back in time trick. Yeah, someone else gets the glove. Let's have a little fun where 2 or 3 different people get the glove and they do what they think should happen, and then ultimately they've got to, you know.
Is the glove like, do you think the gauntlet is like the Lord of the Rings, where whoever has it is corrupted by it?
Yeah, well, I believe so, because, you've got to be really strong in order to wield them. I mean, each one by themselves will fuck someone up.
So what if somebody like Captain America gets it, who is morally centered, and pretty in a way. He's got some I'm right, you're wrong flaws, but he's not.
Right.
He's always trying to do the right thing. So it's not like he's a bad guy. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, but does it corrupt him if he gets a hold of it?
I believe so. Yeah, I think only certain people can wield it uncorrupted by it. It's just so much power.
Who's that? Oh, Rocky the. Is it Rocky the Raccoon? Rocky Raccoon. Sweet Rabbit. What if the Sweet Rabbit gets it?
But how fun would that be? I mean, let's see. That I would enjoy it even if they screw up the ending. If we get to see the Sweet Rabbit get it, and let's see some alternate versions of what some screwed up people think should happen with the glove. That would be fun. But here's ultimately what I want is they get, I don't know, introduce like one of the new gods or old gods or something, and let's say they make a deal. It's like, okay, if you fix this and get us out of this thing, we'll owe you later or something. Just, I want to introduce a new, bigger threat. We're like, I'll save you now, but then later on, I'm the new big bad.
Yeah.
Something like that. Because ultimately, there are gods in the Marvel Universe. There are gods that are technically more powerful than Thanos, or at least as powerful. So they don't like the fact that someone like Thanos could just do whatever I want.
Be a god. Can just be a god.
Right.
Yeah.
So they're offended. They should be offended. At least they are in the comic books. So I feel like somebody needs to say, hey, hold it. You can't just do whatever you want.
The other thing is, what do you think Marvel is going to do after Infinity War? I mean, after Endgame, because they're officially calling this 13-year whatever the Infinity
Stage 4.
Was it called the Infinity series? The Infinity something, I can't remember what it was.
Yeah.
They're referring to it all as the Infinity Stone saga, I think is what they're calling it.
I believe they're going to do New Avengers, which has Captain Marvel and Ant-Man and Spider-Man, maybe.
So all the people other than Spider-Man
that
we don't like as much.
Sort of. Well, Vision has to come back. Vision is a part of the New Avengers. But at this point, to be honest, they're writing a whole new Marvel Universe timeline. So
I'm sure they have plans, and they might even be in production on some things because they're very secretive. But they
have to let all the Avengers people that they've had on contract for 10 years, Thor and all them, they got to give them a break and do New Avengers. That's where I think they're going with all this.
Yeah. They basically said, Kevin Feige, the guy who produces all this stuff, who runs Marvel Studios, basically said we have plans, but we aren't making any announcements because the announcement itself would spoil the ending of Endgame. So,
well, yeah.
I'm curious to see what they do next. You know me, I'm back to wondering how excited I want to be about all these movies. I'm excited about them because of spectacle, and the only reason I'm even at all curious or interested in Endgame is because Infinity War was so good for a Marvel movie. You know what I mean? I had serious doubts. If you remember when this movie came out, there were 20-something, I think it was 27 superhero characters in Infinity War. And I remember having a conversation with you on our other show, WTAF Previews, check it out, where I was like, there's no way they're going to be able to keep a cohesive story for 2 to 3 hours with all those characters going on. But when we saw it, I was like, this is fucking good. This was a good story.
One of the best Marvel movies I've seen.
So, and those guys have made the best Marvel movies, the Russo brothers.
Yeah.
So I'm not even going into this doubtful. I'm just curious. I'm not nearly as excited about it because the cliffhanger was such a huge cliffhanger that I feel like it some of the steam just gets let out of the bag, just from having to wait a whole year.
Yeah, but also
see how
some
it
of
ends.
the bad Marvel movies that we've seen.
Yeah, some of the shittier things that they've just thrown out on us. So, yeah. Well,
You know, the kid in me though. The kid in me is like, since the Disney bought Fox, right? Mm-hmm. So the kid in me is just really, really hoping that Fantastic Four and maybe some X-Men. Because that's the like wet dream for all of us comic
in the
superhero
Avengers,
nerds.
in the Avengers,
In Endgame.
oh,
Come on, bring it, because
Yeah.
Fantastic Four were big in the original.
yeah, but that's not going to happen because that deal just closed a couple months ago. This movie's been done.
See, that's what I'm saying. It's
Yeah.
just the imaginary. If I could go back.
Yeah.
If I could turn back time, I'll give all to you. Whatever.
If I could turn back time, I would go back and ask you not to do that song by Cher. Stop singing.
Oh, that was Cher.
I know. Stop singing Cher. So we will see this movie and we will be back to talk about it. And
that's the right.
Yeah,
that'll be the next episode, right?
Yeah, and we'll make a couple announcements.
Endgame.
Endgame, Avengers Endgame. So we know that's all anybody else wants to talk about. Not anybody else, but it's it really is the only movie with any potential to be good out right now, because everything else is staying away from the Avengers weekend.
Yeah, we haven't looked, or at least I haven't looked into what is coming out. I don't know what's coming out between now and Christmas.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna look from week to week and say, oh, hey, this is here.
Yeah. So, well, that's it. We'll see you next week after we've all come out from the other side of Endgame, and we will know the Endgame.
And until next time, to be continued.
Yes. See you at the movies. Movieisms is a production of Super Mega Ultra Entertainment and is produced by Michael Beckemeyer and Bradley Kingston. If you'd like to find out more, follow us on Twitter or Instagram. And make sure you click like on our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/movieisms. If you're enjoying this podcast, please take a moment and give us a 5-star review in iTunes. It only takes a minute and it helps us out more than you can imagine. Thank you very much, and until next time, we'll see you at the movies.